Welcome in, everyone, to a very special edition of the Barely Educated podcast. We have a couple games to talk about that I don't really want to talk very much about. There was a baseball game Thursday where the Mariners beat the White Sox 6-3. Just dreadful. But that's not what makes it special. Well, that was very special in its own way. We are joined by Barely Educated legend and tile master, cousin Nate, in the flesh here in Nashville.
Wow.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, so
Wasn't
we
it?
are
Nice to
we
see you.
are here sharing the mic at the kitchen table as we nearly are done with the tile project that he is so graciously helping me with, and taking a break to talk Bears. Which, now that I've seen how a tile project goes, I think the demolition of the old tile is the worst thing. Then talking Bears, and then the rest of the tile project is actually less painful than being a Bears fan. That's my transition to Bears football here.
Yeah, 7 hour drive to
The drive is a good
provide
point.
all the manual labor and then be forced to watch the Bears game was a really nice treat on top of all of it.
Yeah, yeah. All most the manual labor. No, now he's got a good side hustle going doing this tile thing. So here we are, a little
Oh,
Christmas trip for the kiddos, and they're off to a playground. And when they come back, we'd better be done recording because the gaggle of little voices will be very loud. Is it a gaggle of children? Are they like, is it a murder of children? What's the term, do you think?
sometimes a murder of children seems appropriate. Yes. No, no, wait. That came out wrong. Sorry. Yeah.
We got what, three 8-year-olds currently in the house, two 6-year-olds, and a 10-year-old.
Oh my gosh. Blessings upon you guys. Wow.
And meanwhile, Chris on Facebook is like, my adult children were home and we played in the orchestra together and it was great. And I'm like, ours are running around with their hair on fire.
It was so fun. Anyway, yeah.
All
Oh
right.
gosh.
Well,
Where the heck do
without
we
further
start with
ado,
this?
let's talk Bears. Do you actually want to say anything about the game Thursday? Sunday, we
Um,
had a pretty fun game. Thursday was dreadful. That's all I got for Thursday. Forget it. We're going to get rid of it.
Flush it. Okay. No, well,
Like, hang on. Sorry. Shout out Kyler Gordon. Really good nickel. Might be top three or so in the league, actually. Kyler Gordon had a great game. He's a really good player.
yeah, Thursday night the defense. I mean, they had been dreadful since Flus was gone, but they showed up. I mean, 6 points to Seattle, who's not a terrible team. So, I mean, I guess give them some kudos. I guess
I mean,
maybe.
yeah, I think you hold anyone to six, it was a good day for the defense.
Well, and Seattle throws the ball well, and they couldn't move the ball
Right.
very well at all. And the interior of their line is a mess every bit as much as the Bears is. And the Bears got constant pressure. The defense looked like it was trying really hard. And Kyler Gordon was everywhere. And that was really encouraging to see. But again, we're back to watching these Bears games like we've watched throughout our whole lives, where if we could just get anything on offense, the defense is right there. And how, I mean, we're comfortable watching that.
Like a warm Christmas point.
Oh my goodness. So,
I'm just
what
glad it
was
was on
the
the 26th, not the 24th or 5th. I think the other takeaway, maybe just to try to do the game justice as a joke about skipping it. For me, it's like the takeaways are either about Caleb or the Seahawks. Really bad game for Caleb, like just say it. Bad game for the O line because they're bad. He didn't play well either. And then I'm like, and I can't take Seattle seriously as a playoff contender if they can only muster 6 points against the Bears team that basically coming into the game was mailing it in. Although they did play really hard this game. But that's all you got. They're not beating anybody in the playoffs. They're probably not making the playoffs if that's
no,
what they are.
no.
That line was almost as bad as the Bears line offense.
Yeah, so yeah, 3 points by the Bears offense. Where where do you put what happened with them on Caleb and everything else around Caleb from the game the other night? Because to me, what was he sacked 7 times? I mean, pressure in his face all night long. There's only so much he can do with that in mind, but you do hope he can pull the trigger a little quicker on some of the passes that he got sacked on. So I don't know. What do you guys think about?
Well, I feel like that was the exact formula you're worried about as we wrap up this year with him, where it's that of instant pressure and lack of obvious quick answers within the offense. Is he ready to be facing that sort of instant pressure and get rid of the ball that quickly? It doesn't appear like he is. And do we wish that he was? Yes, of course we do. But let's say of the 7 sacks, we can put 2 to 3 of get rid of the ball, my guy. Like, get rid of it. 2 or 3, could he have? Yeah, maybe if he was in year 2 or year 3, or there were better, yeah, or there were better answers within the offense for him. And then you've got jailbreak season on another 2 or 3 of them. So it's the games like that are what you fear as we finish out this season, doing maybe a little bit of lasting damage, bringing his eyes down, happy feet in the pocket. I don't think it's as easy as just assigning a certain amount of the pie chart of blame to him. I wanted to see more. I know you guys probably wanted to see more, but I'm not ready to put a whole lot of blame on him because so much of this is beyond his control.
And really, this is the situation they've put themselves in. Whether it's keeping Eberflus in January, this is what we all feared.
Yes,
we talk ourselves into it like fans do. But this is what I feared. And then he's like, "Oh, I don't want to turn it over. I don't want to turn it over. I'll just take another sack." It's like, just throw it away. He's allergic to throwing it away quickly. He'll do it occasionally really late in the play, but he won't be like, "Oh, crap, throw it away." He's always going to try to make a play. It's probably part of the hero stuff. But the alarming thing is the pressure to sack rate is horrible. Like, he has escapability, but he's still getting sacked all the time. And that's why they have to get the coach right.
Yeah.
Because there's so much potential here, but there's a lot of rawness that needs to be refined. And now there's bad habits that I think are coming in from what he was hearing all year from the coaching staff about not putting the ball in harm's way and all these things. And he's reminding me, he's got a way better arm, don't get me wrong, but he's reminding me a little bit of Justin Fields back there where it looks like you're thinking too much. And I know you're a better athlete than this, so why are we still standing there not doing anything? Even though on the quick game, he's 100 times better. Like with the little stuff to DJ Moore, it doesn't take 3 seconds to throw it, right? The arm is way better. But in terms of the processing, there's some shell shock kind of vibes too, I think. We need to hit a nice big reset button. And that's why I would say, and I'd be curious to get your guys' opinion on this, transitioning to the next thing. This might be the most important coach hire they've made in my lifetime going in. Like you could say in hindsight, Lovey worked out really well, so that was an important one. We're back to Ditka if you're old enough. But to me, like the pressure on the hire as we head towards the hire, to me, that's never been, higher because of Caleb's potential, where they're at with all this losing for 12 years. With what, 2 winning seasons and a couple 500 sprinkled in, and then a bunch of 4-12s and 4-13s that we're staring in the face this year, 3-14, 2 10-game losing streaks plus, probably 10 plus. And where the fan base is chanting, "Sell the team, guys, sell the team," as they're trying to mount the game-winning or tying drive.
Oh.
Fans started chanting, "Sell the team." They have got to get this right. Do you think that's hyperbole at all, Chris?
No, I don't think so. And I heard a little bit of the score yesterday. Lawrence Holmes, I thought, did a nice job pointing out like the fans, they've gone along with the first chunk of this quote unquote rebuild, and now we're waiting like, hey, we've let you tear it down and we've let you had losing seasons and we're still bad. We got the guy and we're still bad. So there's some righteous and justifiable anger from the fan base like, hey, what the heck? We've sat through this and now we're the way he put it was we were promised jetpacks and we're waiting for our jetpacks. We haven't got our jetpacks yet. So
Caleb's the jetpack. It feels like they forgot to give us fuel.
Yes, yeah, that's
or something.
probably.
Something's wrong here.
The other night he made some great throws, like that touchdown that was called back on a sketchy
Great
holding
throw.
Oh, that was
call.
electric.
The fourth
That
down.
throw was unbelievable, and there's still enough of those that in every game that say, yeah, this guy's going to be great if we can get the right help for him. So yeah, I totally agree that this next coaching hire is huge because it's going to be the guy that's going to be there through his rookie contract, right? Is that probably
Yeah,
fair to say?
exactly. Well said.
Yeah. So yeah, this is absolutely huge, and why they need someone on offense to maximize the potential. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. I know Pete Carroll's name is gaining some momentum, it seems like, but I don't know. I just get John Fox vibes from that, you know. Maybe that's not fair to Carroll because
I mean,
he's
he's better, obviously, career-wise, but
yeah,
it would be a really interesting debate to me on Carroll if he was 60, not 73. So,
Yeah,
like,
I
what's
think-
the plan there?
I
You know,
think- I
like
think
long
he-
term.
He probably raises the floor a little bit better than Fox did.
yeah,
And we're in a similar scenario as we were with the Nagy hire, though I believe the quarterback prospect is significantly better.
Yeah,
Therefore, it's that much more important.
right. Exactly.
But the hallmarks of of what we were looking for in the Nagy hire too. Pairing that offensive mind with the new quarterback. And it's all the more important this time because I think we all believe the quarterback can be a star.
yeah,
Yeah, they had the right idea with the Nagy hire.
yeah. Hmm.
None of us vetted enough that he didn't call plays that much. Ben Johnson's been the guy on that offense for 3 years, and it's been humming along.
Well,
Yeah, he'll need an O line. I get it, but maybe he'll make them fix it. You know, like he's still far and away my number one.
Hmm.
If you made me pick a D head coach and rank them absent the offensive ones, I would put Pete Carroll easily at the top of that list. And I'd say I need the succession plan.
Mm.
But I don't want him over the top couple offensive guys. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But I'd rather have him than Vrabel all day.
but I need to know what happened the last 3 years in Seattle.
Yeah.
What led you to hire Shane Waldron in the first
Right.
place in Seattle? How were your other hirings? How'd you get to those in Seattle as you were essentially being,
Yeah.
and now you've had your 1 year of retirement, and sure, I mean, everybody that wants a job in the NFL is gonna throw their name at the Bears job.
That's the other thing going on for sure.
So I don't know how serious even the Bears themselves are taking that,
Right.
but given his history, given his track record, your assumption that all of your culture stuff and your leader of men stuff and all of those boxes you're trying to check, go ahead and get checked with him. I've got way more questions on the granular offense and the hiring
Mhm.
and who you're bringing and what is your plan for Caleb.
He's
Yeah.
there. See, that's what's interesting about him compared to the other D coaches is his track record with QBs is actually pretty amazing.
Mhm.
And you assume he'll build a good staff, though you do wonder about Waldron. But Waldron was better with him.
Yeah, much better.
That wasn't
Yeah.
the Bears
It
Waldron.
sure was.
It's not like all I'm saying is I'd rather have him than Vrabel or Flores or any of the other D coaches. But it's still a chasm from Ben Johnson down to Joe Brady, and then another chasm to anybody that's defense for me. Because Caleb's what matters. What I'd like to see, and I know they'll never talk this way, but they only ever give us leadership and culture and all these little jargony football-y things. They always talk that way, and they always get a bad coach. I would like we're gonna hire someone who can scheme up an offense and knows exactly what to do on 4th and 2. We're gonna hire someone on 3rd and 1 who has the play call that he needs when his power back is concussed and you can't use him. We're gonna hire someone who's gonna come out in the first 15 scripted plays and kick your butt in the first quarter, and also be able to adjust to what you do. Stop this leadership culture crap and get somebody who gives you a decided advantage on game day against the guy on the other sideline instead of always being the team with the dumber head coach. This has nothing to do with Thomas Brown. I don't care about that. He's not a candidate. After that 4th down fiasco, he's eliminated. He's not ready. He never stood a chance. It's fine. I don't care. No ill will. I'm purely talking about Matt Eberflus and Mark Trestman's of the world that they hire and retread like Fox. It's like get a guy who's been calling the plays, who knows how to stack plays, who can do a play in the third quarter based off the exact same thing he showed in the first quarter, but then the end result is different and the defense is fooled. Ben Johnson is the goods on all that. And we always try the other stuff most of the time. That's what the Bears do, and it never works. So get someone smart enough to outcoach the other coach. Just try that. Like, let's not worry about the leader of men nonsense.
Right.
You watch Ben Johnson's reaction on the sideline to Stumble Bum. He's not a little dweeby nerdy guy. He is fired up, and the players are like chest bumping him. That does not look like a guy who can't lead, even if we are still worried so much about that.
Yeah.
Just because he's smart doesn't mean he can't lead. That's stupid.
Yeah, and winning will give you a good culture, you know. So
we were talking about this because did you see the clip of Reed dressed up as Santa? Andy Reid dressed up as Santa Claus, and then he brought in like the 30 years long manager guy dressed up as an elf and like gave him a game ball or had him do something, and the players were just going nuts. And I'm like, yeah, Reed's definitely got that culture stuff down pat. He's also a brilliant play caller, and they have 14 wins. So what is it that the players are happiest about? Andy Reid dressing up as Santa or being 14-1?
I'm gonna guess the latter. Even Nagy's first year, we were mostly happy with him after that first year, right? Because they were
Club Dub was the funnest thing we'd experienced as fans in ages.
Yeah.
The problem there was we were like, the offense can't do anything unless it's a trick play.
Yeah.
And Fangio was the key to the record, right? And
Right. Yeah. Hindsight is all that. Yeah.
But that was a fun year.
It was.
It wasn't fun because of Santa's slate. It was fun because of Santa's slate and being 12-4.
And Khalil Mack eating people. That was a lot of fun too.
That was fun.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things I've learned in the difference between the Nagy hire and what we're approaching right now is Nagy was the hack candidate. We've been over that. The biggest difference right now is I want the guy that was running the show, the offense, that was in charge of it. It was his offense. I don't want the guy that was standing next to the guy that was running it. And that's what Nagy was. That's all the unknown Mark was talking about that we didn't vet out enough.
And Ben Johnson's got 3 years.
And Ben Johnson has that. And one of the things he said that has me, as you listen to the clips of him talking, is when talking about his offense, he refers to it as Jared's offense or Goff's offense. And that he has built this offense to maximize Goff's anticipation, the ability to throw over the middle, down the field, quick recognizing hot routes, all the stuff that Goff is really good at are the bones of that offense. And I have ultimate belief that he can come to Chicago and build something around Caleb's athleticism, his ability to create.
The whistle on the ball that he talked about.
The arm strength. I have faith that when there's a blitz coming, he might position Cole Kmet somewhere over the middle, 6 yards down the field as a release valve for Caleb.
I'm sorry, who's Cole Kmet?
Apparently doesn't exist in this current offense.
Who's Cole Kmet?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Goff is so interesting because depending on how you view Burrow, who moves around some, with Kirk Cousins benched, I guess Stafford, we talked about this the other night. Goff is a dying breed as like a statue pocket passer. And they still are making the offense work. Like, to me, that's also really impressive. Again, you're going to have to fix the O-line if you bring in anyone. It doesn't matter who your coach is. No one's going to be like, well, I'm a leader of men and I will fix all these bums. They're all going to go, yeah, I need 3 or 4 new ones. Like, this is a non-starter. Stop bringing up the Detroit O-line. You have to fix the O-line even if the meatball composer is the head coach, right? It doesn't matter who the head coach is. You have to fix the O-line.
Can I be head coach? No, I don't want to be head coach. Never.
I think you're more of a special teams coordinator. I'm kidding.
There's a few ways I can take that, sir.
Yeah, that's for interpretation.
Yes.
So what's your list on it, Chris? Where do you start and end on your head coaching list if you were doing the interviews?
Oh, same with you. Absolutely Ben Johnson first. Because of all the reasons that you stated, he's proven over these last 3 years that he is running that offense, and he's got a head coach that's letting him run the offense, which is nice. And yeah, being able to tailor what you do around the players that you have. I mean, why does that seem like such a novel concept? You know, but
Because
Yeah.
they all say it, but so few of them actually do it.
right.
That's another Nagy thing, right? Watching Nagy refuse to figure that out. That was
Mhm.
actually the biggest problem.
Yeah, trying to
Pitch is
make.
ready for 201 or whatever he said.
Yeah.
Year 4 of the offense is really where it starts getting going.
You just give me another decade. We'll have another good year in here somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'd love to see Ben Johnson. Obviously, after that, I mean, I guess Joe Brady would be my next
Man.
guy. I Cliff Kingsbury's track record of fading in the second half, even though he's got a history with Caleb, I just don't. I think there's too much in
It
his
wasn't like
record.
he actually called those plays. I think sometimes that gets brought up without realizing he was effectively the QB coach.
Do you have any um I don't think his offense has faded a ton this year. Do you have
A little
do you
better.
think that maybe he's done any changes or evolved a little to where maybe that's not as big of a concern?
Maybe,
Because
yeah,
he does check a
lot of the other boxes.
he's been a head coach before box that they seem to care about.
yeah.
I don't know if we have to hire if they have to land on a guy that has been a head coach before. I don't know if he's maybe not my number one at this point, just because of the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
It's a silly,
out of
it's
the
a
guys
silly
that have done it
qual- It's a
before.
silly qualifier, but if that's a qualifier they're intent on using,
Well, obviously the list will
Yeah.
shift if people get hired.
Mhm.
Like almost the best thing that could happen is there's not much news out of Hallis Hall during the playoffs. You go, okay, that's the bench scenario.
Yeah, that's
We're in a weird spot where I want them to do very little because I just am so locked in on Ben Johnson. I also, let me know what you guys think of this. I know it's going to sound harebrained at first. I don't want them to cast a wide net past, say, the initial research and maybe the Zoom interview. Otherwise, I want a laser focused search. I don't want this business where we bring in 10 GM candidates like we did. They always say they cast a wide net and they always screw it up. Get laser focused on the criteria you want and don't settle for all these other narratives.
Yeah.
If you're determined to pair Caleb, as you pointed out quite accurately, with the right coach for the rookie contract, then that throws out a bunch of them. Rooney Rule notwithstanding.
Yeah.
That means now, the only people they interviewed were offensive backgrounds, the ones they brought to Hallis Hall in. I would love to see that instead of this wide net stuff that they always do that gets us nowhere. They cast such a wide net 10 years ago that they went to Canada. No wide net. Not at that stage. That's the early part of it. The net needs to shrink considerably before anybody steps in the door.
and that will be an actions speak louder than words kind of thing. I
Yep.
think we're going to hear about
Everybody under the sun. We already are. I mean,
well,
the Notre Dame guy already used the Bears for leverage.
Let's hear about 4
Exactly.
second interviews.
Exactly.
You know, and that's it.
And I want them to have a theme.
Yeah. No, if what we've seen in Washington suggests that Cliff Kingsbury has um grown or evolved a bit, sure. I mean, they will talk to him and they should get Caleb's take on him,
Yeah,
and
sure.
so but and maybe this is a good time to switch to the next topic. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. Excuse me. Um who who is actually hiring the next head coach?
Yes, that was my last topic for it.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to do about the GM? The way you phrased it is really good too. Like, does Ryan Poles deserve the chance to make this hire? And I think we all agree. Let me just set the stage. Do we all agree lame duck is the worst idea?
Yeah.
Correct.
So that means if he's making the hire, we want him extended, or we
Oh.
don't want him extended, thus fired, and not making the hire. So what would you guys do about Ryan Poles?
Well, I think in all of your background and your vetting and your preliminary work on the candidates that you're most interested in, you have to find out how they feel about Ryan Poles and if they're willing to work for him. Because I don't know that you can go into serious rounds of interviews with a guy sitting there that you might then fire a week or two later. So I think you need to have that answer before things get too serious. and he needs to either be extended either right away or fired right away.
He needs
This
that
can't
should
drag-
already be known. They
Correct.
already need to know what they're doing.
This cannot drag, the Ryan Poles question cannot drag 2 to 3 weeks into your own offseason, not even talking about the NFL offseason. You have to know if Ben Johnson is serious and he's like, I can or I can't, or I want to or I don't want to. You have to have those answers, and I think that needs to be decided quickly. That's what I think.
I mean, I don't disagree that you need to know if he's going to be a stumbling block to hiring Ben Johnson. I mean, then he's gone for sure. I think you should try to look at it like, did he do a good enough job to get an extension or not? And that's it. I would actually just start there and go, what's the record? What's the draft track record looking like? And I honestly hate this because I mean, having been through it myself, it's a terrible thing, but he's got plenty of money, so presumably, I think he should go. I think his drafts are mediocre. I think his free agencies are largely a complete and utter disaster. I think he's probably too emotional for this job based on some of the ways he's reacted to things that are public information. Like, I'm sorry, we can't be about to cry because we cut a safety that we just signed to the practice squad 3 weeks ago. This is a cold and calculated business world. And I don't think that trait works very well in the cold and calculated. And I don't think Howie Grossman is there going, man, that safety, I just couldn't hardly bring myself to cut him. You know, like, I just don't think it's working. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. What's he done well enough to earn an extension? The Panthers trade, he's not getting another one of those. I hate it, but I think he's got to go.
His greatest quality right now is his asset management.
Right.
His cap space and his, gathering draft picks. And that matters a lot. And, the good GMs, the good franchises, they use that cap space that he's currently not using to extend their own talent. But he hasn't provided talent that I think we're all clamoring to be extended.
To have
maybe a handful, right?
To have this much cap, probably Gordon right now, that's about it. To have this much cap space this far into the rebuild, I would argue is probably a bad thing. For the roster, it is. You see what I'm saying?
No, yeah.
I don't see how you survive 2 10-game losing streaks in 3 years and a 286 winning percentage. GMs usually get a longer leash, but man, this is really bad. And it's the Lawrence brought up, Chris. You told us we had to do a rebuild, tear down and rebuild to win. Well,
guess who didn't? The Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah. Right.
One mediocre year, and they're right back in the thick of it as potentially the 1 seed still. They got that chance.
Crazy.
Chris, do you remember back
coaching
one of Poles' first moves when he tried to sign Larry Ogunjobi and he failed the physical, and Poles came out and said he was gutted to have a conversation with Ogunjobi about pulling the contract. At the time where we really empathized with that, but looking back, it's, to me, I'm like, well, you just met this guy.
That's what I mean.
And he failed a physical. Like, why are you gutted to have to do this? And now we have more and more instances of hanging on to Velus Jones too long.
Nate Davis,
whatever his name is, that you're crying on camera on Hard Knocks because you have to cut a fringe roster guy.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's got the temperament.
How awful it sounds, but I think he's too nice for the gig.
And we've heard now that there were warnings in Hallis Hall about signing Nate Davis, and we don't know the specifics of that, but he did it anyway. And what he said was it Thursday pregame about what's wrong with things that extend back to training camp. I don't know if he realized how much that really indicted himself.
That's a great point.
So
that's a terrible comment.
Yeah, like what are you doing? Like trying to just blame the guy who's not there, so you can't really follow up on it. But you hired the guy, you kept the guy that you're now trying to throw under the bus.
And the bitter irony there is, I absolutely agree with him, because one of my least favorite things about the Eberflus era is how bad and pointless most of August always seemed.
Yeah.
They'd come out and get whooped for 4 weeks most of the time. They beat the Niners in the monsoon, but it's like, yeah, I agree with that. You idiot. You can't say that. And also, why haven't you fixed it then?
Yeah. Why did you let that
brutal,
stop?
man? It's brutal.
Are you firing him, Chris?
Yes, I am. I am.
Okay.
Because the roster has really been exposed since Flus was fired. I mean, I honestly thought that we'd see better play because we
Yeah.
thought the roster was better than the coaching, but it doesn't seem to be the case. They've had their worst couple of games since Eberflus has gone.
And
So
and it's just if you want to get more like detailed on it and not just big picture, the offensive line has had two absolutely horrendous seasons under his watch. They have the two worst sack totals in Bears history and three of the four worst. The other one is 2010 or 11, whichever it was for Jay Cutler.
I
But
think,
Ryan Poles has put together an absolute train wreck of an offensive line every single year.
and he's
And
an
I'm
offensive
sorry,
line.
at some point, if we're going to fix this thing, the two things that have to get fixed first are head coach and O line. I know we need some D line too. I get that there's other holes, but come on, if you're watching these games,
Yeah.
you sit there and you go, we have no idea what we're trying to do in the scheme, and these guys cannot pick up a blitz, or that guy is falling over again. It's the consummate, you're as good as your weakest link kind of position too. And that was his biggest job in some senses, right? Get the QB right, get the coach right, fix the O line. We never have an O line, and the one random years that we're good, usually pretty stout up front. And it's like, I don't want him rebuilding an O line again. He's already tried and failed miserably a couple
Yeah.
times. He gets these weird obsessions with guys like Ryan Bates, who came in with arthritis. That was already known. And now he's been concussed forever. I just can't turn this over to him again.
Yeah. With oh, the safety. I can't remember his name now.
Adrian Colbert.
No. Our starter,
Oh,
who's
Brisker.
Brisker. Thank you, Jaquan Brisker. Um,
Yeah.
Clearly he's done the rest of the year, and like you pointed out a couple of shows ago, he came in with concussion tendencies already. So
Scary stuff.
yeah. So what has other than tanking and then drafting Caleb Williams, which is a no-brainer, right? If you have the first pick, what has he really done as a GM drafting that you're like, oh, we got to keep him around? I mean, Kyler Gordon, it looks like a stud, and
That's his best pick that
when he's
isn't this
healthy.
year, right? Like this year's
Hmm.
too early. And
Yeah.
then Darnell Wright. I mean, anyone would have picked Wright there probably.
Hmm.
I just the body work just isn't good enough to extend. And if it's not good enough to extend based on what they've done to themselves yet again with the timelines, then you should fire him and sync the GM with the head coach. That's the cold, calculated, correct move.
Yeah.
Do
So
either of you think they'll fire?
I,
Kevin Warren's the wild card, right? It's hard
yeah.
to predict.
Uh-huh.
Before we
think
say
they
same
might.
old Bears, everybody's saying
Yeah.
it. Everybody's going same old Bears. Yeah, they suck. I get it. They've earned skepticism. You know what though? They fired the coach mid-season. It's not the same old Bears.
Mhm.
They have a different president. It's not the same old Bears. He may be incompetent too. I don't know, but there are some things different. And I look at Ryan Poles, you know, body language where it looked like Kevin Warren kicked his puppy off of Sears Tower, and I'm like, maybe he's thinking he's getting fired, and this is all a song and dance, and he's irritated, but he's cashing the checks while he can because something was up with that press conference.
Yeah.
Warren
Yeah.
is a wild card. So do you think they're going to fire him, Chris?
So oh boy, I kind of do. I kind of do because the losing has continued and the teams looked worse, and there's no one else to blame at this point.
I
Like,
think I'm with you. I think they
yeah,
might.
yeah. So am I positive? No, but I think I'm leaning more towards yes. Or it's someone I can't remember who on Twitter suggested this, but there will be the announcement after the season that the Bears and Ryan Poles have agreed to part ways. I could see that as a possibility
Sure.
um, to like save a
As an
little
olive
face.
branch sort of thing.
I
Yeah,
know coaches keep getting their money. Do GMs? Does anybody know? I don't really know. I
not
kind of
sure.
think it's the same
I
as
guess it
coaches,
is.
but I mean, it's funny that players don't when they're cut, But all right,
Yeah.
I had one other thought I wanted to bring up or question as we wrap up. What do you make of Jalen Johnson's comments where a defensive player, basically a star, is saying, yeah, I mean, I like some of these D coaches, but go get us an O coach.
Yes,
That's remarkable to me.
yes. That
You've
I
asked.
love him because of his honesty like that.
Yeah.
He doesn't care, He just puts it out there.
Yeah. Great
Um,
interview. We may never get a player who's a more interesting interview.
yeah, and he
You
said
ask these guys to be vocal, and they're being vocal.
yes, yeah, and his three were Johnson, Kingsbury, and Brady, right?
I believe
I
so,
think
yeah.
so, yeah.
So
And then
it's
he's
like,
like,
yeah,
but
okay.
you know, a defensive guy's fine
So
too.
he obviously listens to the pod. That's nice.
Yeah,
That's
shout
right.
out to Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson.
God, listener Jalen.
Oh my, yeah.
What do you make of that, Nate? When you're saying that?
I think they all see what we see. I think the defense has got enough talent on it and has enough investment in it that they understand that if they get a good play caller in there, a good scheme that they can believe in, that they won't really miss a beat. And I think they understand, having seen this guy like Jalen especially for as many years as he has, he knows we got to get Caleb in the offense rolling, and the best way to do that is to pair the play caller with the quarterback. I think they know that.
Yeah.
And I think most of the time they're not going to say that out loud, but Jalen has been empowered enough, and like you said, Chris, he doesn't care about the blowback. He really doesn't.
Not to put words in his mouth, but the only way it could have been more direct, in my opinion, and he's very direct to begin with, is if he'd been like, if you idiots could just reliably score 24 points on a fairly consistent basis, we'll start trying again. Don't worry about us.
And he's obviously a sharp football mind since he agrees
Yes.
with us.
And
Yeah.
they did try Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced they were trying against the Niners. You can't convince me that was the actual effort.
No,
But-
no. I
But
agree.
I thought it was very telling, obviously, and there's a lot of smoke on Ben Johnson, still more on Ben Johnson than anyone else. And here's, I think, the last difference on the coach, on the rumors, as we try to sit here a few days after Christmas and figure out where it's going. There's been a lot of smoke about the various candidates at different points in the process. That's going to continue for the next several weeks, probably. There's only one candidate where the smoke seems like it's sticky. And that's Ben Johnson. Soon there'll be some Flores thing or someone else.
Well,
And then there'll be another Ben Johnson thing.
He's the only one where we've had verified reports of interest from both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we've seen the agents putting out their clients' names, but we've not seen the verification from the Bears side like we have with Ben Johnson.
Or
Yeah.
at least the guys like Breer saying the Bears are interested too. Who's
I mean, Courtney Cronin, I believe,
Cronin
basically
did
said
too.
it.
Yeah, they're all saying it at this point.
I mean, it seems like the no-brainer on paper, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
Well, Nate, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a
thank
pleasure.
you.
I had a blast.
And I guess thanks for helping with the kitchen.
Yeah.
Take it away, Chris.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode. And yes, thank you, cousin Nate, for joining us. Maybe someday down the road we can have some of our other faithful people joining us. But yeah, this is fun. Find us on the web at barely_educated on all the socials, bearlyeducatedpod@gmail.com for an email, and buymeacoffee.com/barely_educated for our website. We will talk to you probably after the Packers game. Until then, bear down.
I love the Bears.